Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we speak about the suffering and persecuted church around the world. Arunachal Pradesh in Sanskrit means land of the rising sun. It is the furthest northeastern part of India, a fascinating, beautiful land that for many years was isolated from the work of Christian missionaries. Today, this territory presents various challenges, among them the impact of the Freedom of Religion Act. To know more about the situation of Christian communities in the region, it is my honor to welcome His Excellency Bishop Denis Panipichai, Auxiliary Bishop of the Diocese of Miao, in the fascinating land of Arunachal Pradesh. Your Excellency, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, you were ordained as a bishop recently in 2018. Did it come as a surprise to you, this appointment?
It was really a surprise to me. I belong to a Salesian order and I was appointed as a novice master. When the nuncio summoned me, he asked me this question, "Are you a Salesian?" I said, "Yes." "Do you know, Father, Don Bosco had 3 devotions. Which are they?" I said, "The devotion to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, devotion to Mother Mary, Help of Christians, and devotion to Holy Father." The moment I answered these questions, his next question was, "Do you know, Father, for Don Bosco, the wish of the Holy Father was a command?" I said, "Yes." And as soon as I said yes, he gave me the appointment letter saying that here is an appointment letter from the Holy Father as the Auxiliary Bishop of Miao. So I was trying to say something and he said, "Father, obey the Holy Father as Don Bosco obeyed him."
So really not that many options for you.
I had no option at all. And moreover, I left Arunachal 10 years back. From Arunachal, moved into Nagaland for 6 years. From there, I went to Manipur for another 3 years. Then I was back to Nagaland as a novice master. Then this call came.
Now, Monsignor, you are originally from the south of India,
Yeah.
which is a very, very different region in terms of not only geographically and climate and all that, but also particularly religiously.
Yeah.
Because there is a very strong presence back to the times of St. Francis Xavier.
Yes.
in that region. Now, would this be an advantage or a disadvantage for you going to this fascinating new land?
It was an advantage in every way. There was no disadvantage whatsoever. In fact, the village where I'm coming from, St. Francis Xavier himself had visited some 400 years back. And I wanted to be a missionary, therefore I went to Northeast part of India, where the Salesian province comprised of Guwahati, but of late it has become 3 provinces. And when I was a novice, I expressed a desire to go to Africa as a missionary. The then provincial, who became a bishop later on, he gave me one slap. He said, "My dear fellow, your Africa is Arunachal Pradesh." That time Arunachal was close to Christianity. The act that Parliament had passed 1978, we are not allowed to go there. And so my first entry to Arunachal was not as a priest or religious, as a carpenter. So I got a permit as a carpenter.
So that's how you cross the border.
I went inside.
To Arunachal.
Of course, my intention was to continue the work of the carpenter of Nazareth. And once you are inside, once you are inside, you really do his work.
Wonderful, Your Excellency. Now we're going to share with our audience, with our viewers, a little segment which will give us a better idea of the reality of the Christian communities in this region of India. So here is a segment of the documentary Soul Hunters.
They used to have a house in which they used to keep a lot of skull, human skull, because they were headhunters in the past. It used to be a spot for them that if a boy wants to show his valor, that he is a hero in the village, people will count how many heads he has collected from other villages or other groups or from their enemies. In this village there were about 300 human heads were kept in one house in the village.
Arunachal Pradesh, a mountainous area in the extreme northeastern part of India, is bordered by the Kingdom of Bhutan to the west, the Tibet Autonomous Region of China to the north, Burma, and the Indian states of Nagaland and Assam to the south and southeast. Arunachal Pradesh, in Sanskrit, land of the rising sun, 20 major scheduled tribes of about 1 million people inhabit the state. Some residents of Arunachal Pradesh practice Hinduism. Tibetan Buddhism can be found amongst groups near the Tibetan-Burma border. But most of the tribes practice local religions that involve interacting with a variety of natural spirits and deities. The first Christian missionaries, Frenchmen Crick and Bury, came to these territories in 1854. They endeavored to reach Tibet, but never made it, killed by a tribesman at some stage of the journey. At that time, tribes inhabiting India's eastern states, known as the Seven Sisters, began to be ever more open to Christianity.
When they heard the life of Jesus, his teaching, they said, this is ours. This is already ours. We believe in these things already beforehand. We did not hear the specific story, but even the stories of the Old Testament are so much like our own stories. And the very generous life of Jesus and his death inspired them so much that many would shed tears even hearing it for the first time.
Nevertheless, during the 140 years that followed the death of Fathers Crick and Bury, Arunachal Pradesh remained a territory artificially isolated from the rest of the country, more especially closed to Christian influence. In 1978, Arunachal Pradesh, under the rule of India's nationalist Hindu India's People Party, the BJP, introduced the Freedom of Religion Act, a piece of legislation essentially aimed at discouraging any Christian presence. The act stipulated that no person could change their religion without the district magistrate's permission.
The one who is instrumental in converting would be fined 1,000 rupees and 6 months of jail, and the one who gets converted also would be punished with 500 rupees and 6 months in a jail. Then the inner line permit system, which was introduced by the British in 1800 and something, was also given a new twist. It became a tool in order to prevent the Christians from coming inside. And so anybody with a Christian name, if they applied for an inner line pass, it would not be given. So that's how the name came as a forbidden land.
35 years ago, no Christians were allowed to set foot in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. No priest could enter this land.
Biggest persecution was experienced by the first Baptists in the western side, where physical torture was unimaginably bad. People were hung upside down, beaten, stripped naked, and all sorts of tortures were there. In this area, the Catholic Church began, and their persecution was more psychological than physical, I would say. They would burn down the little churches. They would imprison 1 or 2 people. But a good number of leaders who could make a difference in the village, they were arrested.
In 1974, persecution was started in my own village at Kemling. They call together it's a gali, all the people of those believer, Christian believer, and they just prepare the idol worship. Then heart of the mutton that is unboiled, no? Then they give us that we left this believing of Jesus Christ. Today we will worship evil spirit.
I encountered with Christian in 1982. Then I was a pagan, believer of this Donipholoism, who believes in the sun and moon. When I first met Christian, Christian means it's very hard thing for me to digest. I start hating like anything. Whenever I meet Christian people, I will beat them, I will scold them, I will snatch their scriptures, Bible, books, like that, anything.
प्रभु यह कहता है, मैं उपयुक्त समय में तुम्हारी सुनूंगा.
Some government officials inspired us to do all these things. We started scolding, we started beating the people there, then and there. Then we started burning their houses. That continued for 2 or 3 years. I was a secretary in school, so I gave them a notice, circular, to all the students that who believe in Christianity, who believe in Jesus, they will not be spared to stay in the hostel, and they will be just driven away from the school. So we took some agreements from them. Whoever confess that they don't want to adopt the Christianity, they will put their blood on the paper and they will sign. That they will say that I won't follow the Christianity from today.
जॉन कलीसिया के लिए आप क्या मांगते हैं? बपतिस्मा। जोसेफ और जॉन, क्रिस्तीय समाज बड़े आनंद के साथ तुम्हारा स्वागत करता है.
We went to village where Christianity is practiced, no? There we bring the pastor neck cross there and we will just tie him there. I will beat like anything. There, what the Bible have done like that, no? The passion of the Christ, no? Like that only we will do. Then we'll ask them to perform the pujas like that against Christianity. Slaughter all his property like that, cow, mutton, like all these goat like that, no? Burn down his granaries like that, no?
मैं तुमको पिता, पुत्र और पवित्र आत्मा के नाम में.
In spite of the persecutions and bans forbidding any activities, the growth in the number of Christians in Arunachal Pradesh proved very dynamic. Over 30 years, nearly 150,000 people have been baptized and received into the Catholic Church.
Welcome back to our program. Today we're speaking with Bishop Denis Panipichai from the region of Arunachal Pradesh. Your Excellency, even though this documentary is a bit older, from 2011, what do you think about the reality? Is it still the same situation for the Christian community? As a matter of fact, we see your titular bishop in the video, and he says some very, very interesting statements about the condition of the Christian community. What is the situation nowadays?
As far as the law is concerned, it stands, which means we are not supposed to convert or baptize anyone to Christianity. But however, we are free. In the sense, we have 2 dioceses now, and one diocese has even an auxiliary bishop. We have a number of priests and religious have come inside. A lot of institutions have begun. So things have changed and it is improving.
Now, the bishop mentions that for the sake of the census, if you're not a Christian Muslim or Buddhist by default, then they consider you a Hindu. Nevertheless, they are not Hindus. Is this still prevailing?
Yes, Arunachalis are not Hindus. They are not Hindus. They are animists. They worship a natural religion in the sense of sun and moon and trees and all that. They do some sacrifices, pujas, in order to appease gods. when there is a lightning, it strikes a tree or a land, they go and do some puja there. Puja is a kind of sacrifice. So it is never been a Hindu kingdom, nor Hinduism prevails there.
Now, in 1978, was when the law of Freedom of Religion Act was implemented. Now, it's interesting that it has the terminology to imply that there is freedom of religion, but on the contrary, it's really a limitation for conversion. How do you get away with it?
Although the law forbids anyone to be converted, but people are free to accept Christianity. Arunachal is 100% a tribal state, tribals and different tribes. In fact, the state of Arunachal has got 74 major languages, dialects, then sub-tribes and all that and all. And so, they have never been Hindus, and they are open to Christianity. Jesus Christ attracts them, and they themselves had experienced lots of miracles, and the faith in fact cures several of them. I myself has witnessed miracles with my eyes, therefore I cannot deny Christ.
And then the other interesting thing, or rather striking thing, that Bishop Paliparamil, Monsignor George, he mentions about these fines that people could get for preaching conversion and for converting.
Yeah.
Is that still happening? Because this was 2011.
It is practically redundant, because though in principle this law is there, but it's not practiced anymore.
It is not practicing anymore. Yeah. So the church is growing in the region.
Growing.
To give us an idea, Monsignor, how many people you baptized in the region?
I baptized. Well, I should have baptized.
Or in the diocese, just to give us an idea of the growth.
I had done my diaconate ministry as a deacon, which was not as a deacon entering into Arunachal, but as a carpenter, as I told you. I had to tour out. My first visit to the villages was 31 days at a stretch. Means you go, stay in a village, walk for 7-8 hours, reach another village and carry on going that. My first trip alone, I must have baptized around 600 people, 600 plus.
So they're really open to the message of the gospel. Why is that, Your Excellency?
Jesus attracts them, and they believe in Jesus, they themselves see miracles. Their faith is so strong. Whenever I am visiting villages, my faith in Christ is strengthened.
Well, that's always the story with missionaries.
Yeah.
That
you can see the simple faith of the people, and you are forced to believe in more and more the power of Jesus in your own lives.
And do you think that their ancestral beliefs are in line with the message of the gospel, or why is it easier for them to accept Christianity rather than some of the Hindus' beliefs?
Since they didn't have any religion as such, they are enemies, worshipping sun, moon, natural, anything that is nature which is frightened. Let us say there is a lightning, and they go and do some puja to appease God. And so they did not have a special god or goddesses as we have in India to believe, and hence it was easy for them to accept Christ. Now,
I want to share with you, Monsignor, that in our website, where we show part of this documentary that we just saw, some people have left some very, we might say, aggressive comments about it. And basically, it's an accusation that the church comes to destroy these peaceful cultures, these tribes that live in such a natural state, in tune with their environment. And you know, some of the comments were rather aggressive. How do you respond to this?
Those who made such a comments, they wanted to keep Arunachal as a kind of showpiece, which means there is a tribe exists there, or the people living there. They will have no access to the external world. They cannot develop. But then once the Christian missionaries are gone inside, we have opened institutions, schools, where not only those who are baptized Christians are studying, even all the others. Everyone is welcome in our schools. So they may be wanting to keep their primitive culture as it is. Therefore, they must be making such a culture, such a remarks, I should say.
So it's a little bit of trying to keep the exotic flavor of the land,
Right.
rather than to help people to
Right.
to grow and develop. Now, what other services the church provides? You mentioned education, but is the church involved, for instance, in
Medical
health services?
Yes, health service we have. Social works. These are some of the major sectors that we work. Plus, of course, evangelizing and catechizing people.
And what about the involvement of lay people, Monsignor? Do you have lay people working as catechists and helping in your pastoral work?
Believe it or not, the church in Arunachal is 100% church of the laity. When the priests and religious entered Arunachal, over 35,000 people are already baptized. Now, where did they all come from? Most were baptized by lay people, and the catechists are very influential and very strong. It is through them the faith is growing. I cannot go to a tribe and introduce myself, they will say no, nothing. But we go with them and they make the initial contacts and we make progress like that.
So it is a fact that
Yes,
when the people, their own people, preach to them, it is easier for them. Now, what about the languages, Monsignor? Do you have to speak different languages, dialects to communicate?
That has been a big challenge to all of us. And so it is not very easy to learn any of this language. And most of our catechists or the touring catechists who accompany us, they know English. And so it's easy for us to communicate through the English, and they do the translation. That has never been a major barrier as such.
What about the work of sisters, of religious sisters in the region? The church rely in the work of these women?
The religious sisters are mostly helping in the parishes, in the schools, in the medical, in the social upliftment, as well as visit villages to catechize them, to strengthen their faith. They do a immense service, I should say, to strengthen the faith of the people.
There is recently there has been some issues with China disputing the territory.
Yeah.
Does this affect your pastoral work?
If you look at the Chinese map, Arunachal is part of it. And it has got to India as a union territory. They are included. And so they always claim that Arunachal is to be theirs. In fact, our area covers China and Myanmar this side. I have gone up to close where we can see the mobile tower of Tibet, now it's China. With our naked eyes you can see. Up to that extent I have gone there to visit our places.
But for the work, for your work of evangelization or your pastoral work, there is no real threat with this situation?
No.
Your Excellency, in general, usually when we talk with bishops from these regions where there's still mission land, there is always this challenge to have a balance between the social work, the help for the living condition of the people, and the pastoral, spiritual, evangelical work. How do you achieve this balance in your region?
We have sisters actually try to take care of the health sector, also the visiting villages and catechizing them. The priests, of course, tour villages and administer sacraments. Then also there are schools attached to every parish with big hostels. So many of these remote areas, the children are brought here and they are being trained. They do their studies and they go ahead. So we are trying to balance it as far as possible. The best way we could think of it.
And you have to combine this two. So your very short time as a bishop, but nevertheless you're very familiar. So what are your main challenges as bishop?
Our main challenge is not any other religion in there, our own brethren, the Baptists, the Revivalists, the Pentecostals, and now they are coming in big force and trying to steal some of our sheep, even the extent of giving them monetary help and very aggressive in their teaching and preaching and all that.
And
They're
they
trying
preach to people that are already Christian,
Yes.
in this case Catholic.
They're trying to, in fact, influence our own Catholics much more than where there are these non-Christians are.
And these other Christian denominations, are they open to dialogue, or it's
No.
more of a...
See, dialogue and all is existing top level, but when it comes ground level, it's a real battlefield.
I can imagine that it could become quite difficult.
In fact, that is our greatest challenge, I should say.
That's wonderful, Your Excellency. Well, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in another program of Where God Weeps. If you want to know more about the work that the Church is doing in India, we encourage you to contact information at the end of this program. Thank you, and God bless.